What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Handmade Business Secrets podcast. And today I want to talk to you about how to maximize your garage as you use it as a woodworking shop. Let's get started. All right, well, welcome back, guys. I'm so honored that you would give me a little bit of your time and your attention. I want to talk to you specifically today about how to maximize your garage or your workshop or whatever you have. If you're working with very limited space and you're trying to start a woodworking business or a craft business or a handmade business of any kind, you got to be strategic. And so I'm gonna help you walk through that today. So the number one thing I want to just point you to that's really helpful, really beneficial, is I actually did a podcast episode on the Handmade Business Secrets podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, go to Apple, go to Spotify, type in Zach Vaught, Handmade Business Secrets, and go down to episode number 8. And so that was a podcast with my neighbor at the time. His name is Tom Dostal, and he's actually he was a consultant hired by multi-billion-dollar companies, manufacturing companies. He worked for GM. He went overseas to Russia to some multi-billion-dollar company. Came in as a consultant. He's a specialist on efficiency. Okay, so that podcast is packed full of nuggets on how to make a small space most efficient. So I definitely recommend you go check that out to start with. But let me give you four really practical ways that you can maximize your space as a woodworker or as a craftsperson building a handmade business. Okay, so number one is everything needs to go in a straight line, okay? So what I think about when I'm saying this is that now in a garage, this is a little more difficult because you don't have this giant open space to start on one side of the wall and work like where the raw materials come in one side and the finished product pops out on the other. But you want to try to maximize this as much as you can. So you want to have on one side of your shop where it's like all your building, and then on the other side of the shop is all your finishing, right? Or you wanted to do it to where, if you're in a 2-car garage, you can do that. If you're in a 1-car garage, well, you basically have one little spot that you're working. But you want to have, if you can't straight line the actual space, you want to straight line the organization. And so I know that if I'm starting with, I'm just going to use a furniture business, for example, because it's what I do. I'm getting raw boards and I'm gluing up tabletops. Okay, well, I want to have all that stuff in this section of my garage. Okay. And then I know after that I'm moving to sanding, okay? So I'm going to have all my stuff that I need for sanding in this area of my garage. So if you can't straight line the room itself, then straight line the organization inside the room. But the goal here is that you're not coming back and forth or getting lost finding your things, okay? So number 2 is minimize your actual footsteps, okay? This is one of the most interesting things because if you actually added up the amount of time that you spend walking, getting tools, getting things, that gets pretty crazy. That was one of the main things that Tom Dostal did when he went into these big giant manufacturing companies, is he would actually track the footsteps of the employees inside of each area and notice the patterns and how they're walking. And if they're not staying in one location, and this is kind of where Henry Ford revolutionized the game too with the assembly line, is the assembly line is the workers didn't move. The assembly line brought the product to the worker, right? And so the same needs to be said for you in that regard. So if you're trying to make something efficient, if you're trying to get faster, if you're trying to maximize the space, well, like I said, organizing or straight lining the organization, when you get to the section where you're going to sand, you pull everything you need and you have it on your workbench. That way you don't have to move. You can complete the entire section of whatever you're doing in the same spot. You're not having to move, okay? If you're applying stain, you get your stain, you get your rags, you get your clean rags, you get everything you need, and you put it in one spot, and you do it, and then you put all that up, right? And so organization obviously plays a massive role in this, but minimizing how much you have to walk around and look for stuff. Guys, it's like is a tale as old as time. If you own a woodworking business, you spend 60% of your time trying to find the tool that you just had in your hand, right? So we want to minimize that as much as possible. So number 3, I basically have summed this up, but organization. If you are super unorganized, it's going to be incredibly difficult for you. And so you have to get organized on where are my tools, where are the things that I need, and how do I want this shop to flow, okay? And then number 4, this is the last one. This is going to be a shorter video, shorter podcast episode for you guys. But number 4 is if you can't go out, so if you're limited by space, then go up. Okay, if you can't go out, then go up. So what type of stacking can I do? What type of shelves that can I mount to the wall? What type of storage could I mount from the ceiling? You see in garages there's those racks that mount to the ceiling that you can slide bins into and keep stuff up out of your way. And so that's one of the main things that I would say is if you're limited by space, you can always go up. So you want to get racks on the walls, you want to get storage, and you want to keep everything against the wall as much as you can to leave yourself as much floor space as possible. So how big of a business can I run out of a 1-car garage or out of a 2-car garage? Well, it depends on how quickly you work, right? It depends on do you want to hire employees? It gets really tricky when you start trying to grow or scale a business and you're like, man, well, I work out of my garage. How can I have another employee in my house, in my garage, right? Well, that's one of the things that's very difficult and really tricky about scaling or growing your company. But hundreds, if not thousands and thousands and thousands of people have done it, including me. I started in a garage, started in a 2-car garage, and now I am in the total building is about 13 or 14,000 square feet, but I'm able to utilize about 4,000 square feet of it for my business. I sublease from a cabinet shop, and so they had this giant building. They didn't need all the space, and so we actually come in and we sublease from them. And so yeah, I have 4 full-time employees in the shop and about 4,000 square feet, but I started in the garage. And so you can make those steps along the way. You just can't get overwhelmed by the thought of it. So that's how to maximize your garage as a woodworker. So if you are just starting out, I want to recommend go to zachvaught.com/handmade business secrets book. I'm going to have the link below, and go download my free ebook. It's like 85 to 87 pages. I can't remember exactly. I need to figure that out. Pages long, and it's super helpful. I tried to put a ton of thought into that to really help you get started growing your woodworking business. And if you're watching this and you're actually doing pretty good, you have a product that people like, people want to buy, you're doing anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 a month. Well, then you want to grow and you want to scale to $20,000 a month and beyond. Well, then I encourage you to apply for the Woodworking Business Accelerator program. That's my flagship coaching program that helps custom furniture makers all across the United States and Canada grow their custom woodworking business. And so I partner with you. I do lots of the work for you. I coach you along the way. And if you'll click the link for that in the description below, you can go watch a video where I tell you more about what all it entails. So with that being said, guys, thanks so much for your time and your attention. If you've gotten any value of this, be sure to let me know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, like the video. That helps a lot. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.